Hello and welcome to the McCann You Believe It Sportscast. That's right, what has been known to you all as a radio show has now turned visual for a very special and shortened episode. And we've got a trio of topics to cover today, so let's start with the most electric spring sports program at Gonzaga. Gonzaga baseball has bounced back after a dreadful 2-12 start to the season. They went into last weekend with an opportunity to put themselves atop the West Coast Conference standings. Now, the Zags were back in Steve Hertz Field with the top spot in the WCC and a chance to extend their lead against second-placed University of San Diego. The Toreros got off hot, taking the first game of the series, before the Bulldogs rallied back to force a rubber match on Sunday. The third game was a back-and-forth affair, as USD rattled off 3 straight home runs in the second inning. GU would climb out of a 5-0 hole in large part due to Max Coop hitting homers in back-to-back at-bats. He'd finished with 3 long balls on the day. An 8-6 Gonzaga lead in the 6th frame was the last time they'd be ahead, though, as San Diego would score 9 more runs, while GU would be held to just a lone Coop homer in the 8th. The two teams are now tied atop the WCC with 11-4 conference records. With 3 more conference series to go, GU will need to contain its mid-season momentum in order to remain at the top. Baseball isn't the only sport that GU has competing at the top of the WCC, however. Gonzaga basketball doesn't just find itself in season after the NCAA tournament. With the transfer portal being ubiquitous in the current college basketball sphere, Gonzaga is just one of many schools recruiting through the NCAA's offseason. Lisa Fortier and the women's team have been active after a subpar campaign last season for their lofty standards. The first on the list went to school in Spokane. Now, Taryn Gardner, a graduate from Meade High School and a transfer from Boise State, comes to Spokane for her sophomore year. Gardner isn't the only one that Fortier locked down, however, as a Gale to Gonzaga, Zariah Aukuzo averaged 12.1 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.9 assists per game during her lone year in Moraga, California. A solid all-around scorer, the Texas native shot 47% from the field and 81% from the free throw line at St. Mary's. These two guards are set to join freshman phenom Allie Turner and high school recruit Paige Loafing in the backcourt, a dangerous quartet for any opponent next season. Now, on the men's side, things are a little less shaky. Despite the loss of 7 players from last year's squad, Mark Few continues to collect and bolster his lineup. Braden Smith and Steele Venters returned to the roster after a year of riding the pine due to injury and redshirting. Those two will join the established frontcourt trio of Graham Ike, Braden Huff, and Ismaila Diani. And Emmanuel Innocenti's return marks another developed athlete to contend. But what about in the portal? Well, Jalen Worley was an early commit to the program, announcing in January of this year that he'd be coming to play in Spokane. The Virginia transfer didn't end up playing last season, entering the transfer portal after former Cavaliers coach Tony Bennett announced his retirement before the season. Worley is the lone transfer pickup as of now, but Gonzaga has expressed heavy interest in Arizona State transfer Adam Miller. Now, Miller brings some much-needed shooting, something that Gonzaga lost a lot over the offseason. While he hasn't officially declared yet, rumors and speculation point to his arrival in the Lilac City being imminent. And if Mark Few's able to bring Miller in, this team would go from scary to an outright nightmare next season. And while we're on the topic of nightmares, the Memphis Grizzlies lived out one in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Their opponent, the Oklahoma City Thunder, are a threat to win the NBA championship this season. But when their MVP candidate fell short of expectations in the first 2 games of the series, it fell upon a former Zag to carry the mantle. Chet Holmgren's back-to-back double-doubles helped secure the Thunder's 2 early wins and eventually a series sweep. Let's take a look at some of the best plays from the former Zag during this stretch. Chet's versatility was on display all series long. Whether it was blocking 7-footer Zach Edey or sniping from downtown, the former Zag was a force on both sides of the ball. He averaged 2.8 blocks per game in this series and had a 5-block and 4-block game. His deep shooting was particularly on display as he hits a 3 here to make it a 50-point OKC lead. Holmgren would shoot 8 for 18 in games 2 and 3 combined, particularly coming off of these pick and pop looks to find an opening in the defense. His work around the rim also gave the Grizzlies absolute fits down low. He played efficient basketball, committing just 3 turnovers throughout the series, and he was known for slamming home offensive putbacks as well. Those who remember his days at Gonzaga will recall a ferocity around the rim that not many 7-footers possess. It was a major impact. I mean, look at that hustle. Have you ever seen a unicorn gallop like that? Oh my goodness, that is a prime-time player, and that is a former Zag. Now, for those who don't know, me and Chet were actually born on the exact same day, May 1st, 2002. What a great one, man. But with that, we'll have to close out the first ever McCann You Believe It show. Now, this was the first show that utilized more than just one of your 5 senses, so thank you all for tuning in and have a blessed rest of your week.